My name is Adrian Ma. I am from Hamilton, Ontario originally, and my current role in journalism is I'm an assistant professor at the Ryerson School of Journalism, and prior to that I spent the bulk of my career as a web producer and web writer.
So can you please give a brief overview of your career and particularly what you teach as a professor?
My parents really wanted me to go to law school, and I was kind of like on that path for a while until I took an Ellis prep course and realized I can't do this. I always loved writing, always loved telling stories, so early on I kind of realized that I'm not smart enough to write novels. Like I can't actually make up characters and plots and everything. But journalism provided me this amazing opportunity where you had these compelling characters and storylines already existing. You just have to put them in the right patterns. So I just started writing for the school newspaper. That led to jobs with the Canadian University Press. That led to internships with the Toronto Star. That led me to pursue a master's degree in journalism at Ryerson, which then led me to the CBC, which I spent the bulk of my professional career working on web, social media, and news reporting. I was invited here by one of my former teachers, actually, Gavin Adamson, a few years ago, who asked if I was interested in teaching part-time. And I absolutely jumped at the opportunity because I just loved my time here, loved working with younger journalists and mentoring them, and became a full-time prof a few years ago.
What does innovative journalism look like in 2018?
I think people get sometimes a bit tied up with the idea of what's innovative. So before, what we would kind of consider innovative was what the flashiest new technology was. And I think that still exists, but I think in a kind of odd way, there's been a real resurgence in the idea that sometimes a story is best told with some amazing text and reporting and just a beautiful photo. I also think that's why you're seeing the growth of newsletters. So newsletters becoming a really popular medium again, which I never would have predicted, because in a way, people are maybe a little bit tired of innovation. They're a little bit tired of kitchen sink multimedia journalism where there's just so much to look at. And what people really want is just either a compelling experience that they can kind of get a bit emotional with, or straight facts, straightforward. I need clarity in this kind of insane world.
With that in mind, how can students be adapting the techniques which they've found to be successful in the past to continue to grow as a publication or to continue to engage their audience in a new way?
The central idea is that journalism is still about people. It's people telling stories about people. And I think if you focus too much on the technology and you lose sight of who you're trying to tell the story for and who you're telling the story about, that's never going to be a truly effective piece of journalism.
When you are working to best communicate to a specific audience, and you want to use a tool like data visualization if you feel that does serve the purpose of your piece, where can students go to access those resources?
There are more free tools than ever. I mean, you could take the route of getting really good at Photoshop and Illustrator and then using some of the new Adobe HTML5 programs that are out there. Eventually that's going to cost you a bit of money. So we use, especially for the first couple of years, Canva, Visme to create interactive infographics and data visualizations, do a lot of preset templates and everything. So those are some pretty good resources I'd definitely check out. And it's a way to learn how to design, and the best way to learn how to design is to start doing it and get a tactile feel for it, because creating something that's beautiful, in a kind of way, there's a lot of similarities with writing a really good story in that you're trying to create a focus for the eye, a focus for the audience, and you build things around that, but you're trying not to overwhelm them with too much. So I think the best way to learn how to make really exciting visual content is to start kind of from that spot and kind of relate it to another form of storytelling. Like what story am I trying to tell here, but in a visual manner?
What can aspiring journalists do to become involved in journalism?
Great question. A few things I would suggest. One is to broaden your networks. That's a huge one. Make an effort to go out and meet people in that field, people that are have years of experience ahead of you that you think may have no interest in talking to you because you're a high school student. But you'd be just amazed how people are really keen on sharing their stories, and if you seem really enthusiastic about the subject, they're willing to share so much with you. And I think you should make an effort to actually go out there, talk to people whose work you admire, and then this will in turn get you more exposure to other things you may not have considered before. And probably the single biggest thing was just old wisdom. Read as much as you can, right? Force yourself to read and listen to things that you may not naturally gravitate towards. And in some cases may have completely differing ideological perspectives that you have. But I think it's important to have a really wide sense of what people think in the world, what they're saying, and making up your own mind about it.
How can high school students and high school publications be working to find a niche within their school community?
Finding your niche is kind of, in a way, it's interesting. It's a lot about yourself, but in a way, it's a lot more about finding your audience. So I think identifying who you're serving, who you want to serve, and how you want to do that, how they want to get their information, how they want to interact with you, that kind of goes a long way. I think the biggest thing is look around you and say, is anyone else doing something that could be interpreted as kind of similar? And if that's the case, then how can we really differentiate ourselves to offer something unique and valuable to the people that we want to serve?